All right, so we're going to be exploring what the experience is like going through the onboarding process once you've made the purchase. So normally you would go to your Autodesk account and you would go to products and services and you would see something here that would mention access. Now for this particular reason, I'm not seeing it there. I'm not sure why, other than it looks like you could access this from here, from home. Install. All right, let's just go to access. Not helpful. How about we just launch Fusion and enable it? How about that? Hopefully that works. Let's go to extensions. Active. Okay, so it says that it's active. Perfect. Okay, from the data panel, I can say open in the web. Boom. Here is the team, and then somewhere there should be a button that says process, and it doesn't. It doesn't show that. Fine. So just open a component. Manage. Let's just go ahead and assign this an item number. Hasn't been enabled for this team yet. Do you want to enable manage extension for this team? Okay. I don't think that's the normal onboarding process, but apparently it could be. It might be. So we can cancel, and I bet you we can go back, hit refresh, and there we go. Maybe I should have just gone to the admin. I bet you that's where it was. That was weird. That was not what I was expecting for an onboarding experience. But okay, it works. And from here, PLM roles, we should see that these are the default change orders, problem reports, change requests. Okay, we should have the normal workspaces for components, which are really items and bombs. So this is my recommendation. Yes, you can turn it on and just start going about your business. I know that's what normally we would tell customers. At the same time, I think it's super critical that you recognize the importance of doing some planning and going through and configuring your environment for that. So what do I mean by that? Like, this is a perfect one. I would more than likely recommend keep the default things as they are. In this case, the lifecycle editor of I'm just in an unreleased state. I'm going to a pre-production. Then once I've secured suppliers, once we've confirmed that the parts are good and we want to release this to customers and to the public, to paying customers, then it would go that route. So I'm probably not going to do anything with that. However, on the general settings, in terms of how things are numbered, all of that stuff, I do think it would be important to go through and start configuring some of this. I think at the minimum, I'm going to come up with a few part numbering systems because I've already established some with some of the products and the CAD files that I've used in the past. The other thing we could do is go to the template library. So here's the thing, is that now that all of these workspaces, quality management, requirements management, here's where I am personally wanting that extra stuff is around new product introduction and ideas management. I'm just starting out. Before I put the cart before the horse, why not first develop which of the product ideas that I have and then I'm in the middle of designing, which one should I prioritize based off the market research that's been done and what has proven that it might have a viable market. So that's part of why I would want to actually start out of the box leveraging those workspaces along with product portfolio management and start to input pricing and that information. Same with supplier management. I'm already dealing with suppliers. So I think, yes, it's a good idea to just start with the basics, but I already know I'm going to want supplier management. I'm going to want product portfolio and ideas management and even NPI. So we might as well just go through the process of setting up all of these workspaces, getting them activated. So should we do that now? Why not? Yeah, we're going to leave that as is. Main menu designer. Leave that as is. Pick list manager. Yeah, we're going to leave that for now. Same with the scripting. We're going to go to PLM template library. First things first, ideas management. Install. The following components will be created. Now, the question is, will those roles be available? I don't know. Let's find out. Was successfully installed. Great. Love it. Design reviews. We might as well enable that one because the thought process is that we can bring in suppliers. It'll be interesting to see if they actually are open to coming into your environment. My experience, it's very difficult, and most suppliers just want to collaborate via email. They have their own internal systems. We'll see though. So we're going to go design reviews. We're going to install that puppy. We're just going to install all the things. NPI install, powered by Autodesk Fusion Manage. Just install everything. Do it all. Okay. So far, I'm not seeing the new workspaces show up. So we may have to go into the menu designer to add those. Having said that, if I'm a new user and don't have any idea about how this template library works, I'm confused as hell. So, product portfolio management. Bring it. Install. Okay. Awesome. Look at that. We are cooking with grease. Well, I haven't even started the fire yet, but that's all right. Quality. Let's go for it. Because I've already experienced getting first samples and then realizing that there's a few things that didn't meet spec. And so I had to collaborate with the supplier. So if I'm already doing the action, how am I tracking that today? I had just email trails. That's all I have. So I might as well start my business off on the right foot by documenting this in a digital workflow and having this all in one spot. Install, let's go. Requirements management. Ensure that your products meet market consumer expectations. Why not? Do it. I'd rather this stuff be installed out of the box and then, oh, I don't need that, and then I can hide it. That's my personal opinion. Supplier collaboration, supplier management, supplier, and last one, let's go, install. Okay, I've got all the things. So let's go to our glorious workspace manager and look at all these glorious workspaces that I now have access to. Now, if I hit refresh, I'm not seeing all of those. So I think the first thing that might have to happen is the roles associated with that. So notice that each workspace has different roles, and roles have different permissions associated with them. The question becomes, though, am I assigned to that, and can I see it? And it's different in the managed extension than it is in the managed product. In the managed product, that's in the user administration. But here, let's try that. We're going to close out. We're going to go to our Fusion Teams. We're going to refresh Fusion Teams. Access, members, groups, admins, projects. There should be a PLM role thing popping up, but it's not. So part of me feels like I need to sign out. I'm still not seeing the workspaces. So something tells me it needs to be assigned. So we're going to pause. Okay. Thanks to Gus. This is what's disappointing. If it wasn't for this video and me remembering that he did a video about how to configure and set this up, I wouldn't know what the hell was going on to configure this. So after you have added the workspaces and you see them in your workspace manager, then we have to go back to the admin portion of Teams, Fusion Teams, to then see that. Now, where I made the mistake was I went to groups and I went to admins and I said, I don't see anything related to PLM. However, the everyone group does show where you can start adding that. So that makes me think, okay, you have to have a specific group to be able to do that. So in this case, I'm going to create a PLM group and group for PLM permissions. And at this point, we'll do all of these components, problem reports, change requests. Now, I don't see any of the other ones, and I bet you he talks about it in that video. That's fine. We'll just create a group. This is our PLM group. I'm in that. No members yet, of course. You have to hit enter. Drawings, components, problem reports, change requests. Hit enter. I'm going to hit enter. Okay, great. No role. Editor. That's really interesting. System, components, problem reports, creator, editor, reviewer, and a change request, editor and viewer. So for now, I'm going to edit the name, PLM admin, because there may be a future state where we want a group and we want them to have certain access, but not have access to everything. If you're just the business owner, you're of course going to want to have access to everything. So for now, what I'm not seeing is the other workspaces, and I bet you that video is going to talk about it. So give me a second. I now see that there's other workspaces. I'm not sure if I just didn't scroll down or what was going on there. So we got drawings, components, change records, change orders. I'm going to have to do all of these. Change approval templates. Enter. Ideas. Enter. Design reviews. Enter. Design review tasks. Enter. Project phases. Enter. Project phase. Teams. Let's go ahead and start assigning. I think I'm just going to keep cranking through because I'd love to get to a stopping space of where all of this is set up so that we can then continue to configure the workspaces. He only put the top one, which makes sense, right? Okay, I'm the admin level. I don't need both, but every once in a while, there might be something weird that one role has as a permission that the other one didn't. So from an admin role standpoint, a lot of times I just go ahead and just put both. Okay, hit refresh, start the chaos again. Products, portfolios, non-conformances, quality inspections. See, and I needed that workspace because, like I said, I've already gone through the motions of receiving first samples from a supplier and then inspecting them. And even though I might not be as regimented as what a normal manufacturer does, it's the beginning of how I would do business. And if anything, this helps me as a small business owner to understand what should I be working up to. And I think that's sometimes the missing key for these smaller businesses to be able to, just learn, like, what does best practices look like? This is giving you all of that structure of what it should be. Okay, so yeah, you can have a claim and it not result in a return merchandise authorization. It's just a claim. You could then reject it. So there you go. That makes sense. Claims. There we go. Requirement approvals. So I'm going to pause because I feel like you get the idea. This is the tedious part of getting through that hurdle. And a lot of small business owners or even large corporations, they have the attitude, oh, I don't have time for this. I'm too busy trying to just run my business. And what is that saying? An ounce of prevention. I don't even remember. what the saying is, but these are the things that can help you develop a framework for setting yourself up for success instead of constantly reacting to these things. Again, that's what I'm hoping. This experiment may easily turn out to be like, yeah, this is ridiculous and this is crazy for me to try and manage all these things. That's fine. That's fine if that's the learning process. But from what I've experienced in other manufacturers and what I've seen them go through, it's a necessity, especially when your team starts to get so large. There's too many moving pieces to be able to try and do it all the way that you were doing it when you first started out to begin with. So my thought process is just set yourself up for success early. Get yourself learning these things, working through the process. One that I just added here was supplier. We got supplier packages, package templates, proposals, deliverables. What is the difference between a proposal and a package? I'm not quite sure. But again, this will be a learning process for me as we look into that item record of, oh, okay, this is what you could use this for. But I'm hoping one of the biggest questions that I've had to understand, or that I'm wanting to achieve through this exercise, is understanding which versions / revisions of the models that I've sent out to suppliers are with which suppliers, right? You interact with more than one. And so one you may be using for prototyping, and another one you may be gearing up to say, okay, this is the supplier that's going to do actual production run. And so you want to be able to keep track of like, okay, I sent them this one and I sent this other supplier a different one. And I'm like, how? I don't really see a way to do that natively in Fusion. In Fusion, you're just simply tracking those milestones. And then this is intended to say, okay, this will manage a release process. But now how do you then manage this revision was sent to these suppliers, this revision is only with this one supplier? I'm hoping that maybe that supplier deliverables workspace will keep track of that in terms of like, okay, I'm interacting with the supplier. These are the deliverables that I sent to them, and therefore there's your record, so that when you do a search that you'll see the connection between those. That's the hope, at least. Okay, and I should just go ahead and assign the roles. So this is actually another important thing to note. So we see in some of these supplier roles, the viewer, editor, and then external. The thought process is, if I can get my supplier to participate in this interface and in this process, that now we can have a record and collaborate much better. But I can already see now where I'm going to probably or likely create another group that is just the external collaborators, in which case we would assign them this external role, which has those specific permissions set for external suppliers. All right, I think I'm good. Save. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm thinking there should be more now. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Magic 10 workspaces. There's your items and bombs, your drawings, change management, problem reports, change requests, change orders, tasks, templates, your ideas management. That'll be cool to start off. Design reviews, great. NPI, great. Product portfolio management, awesome. Quality, all of those things, non-conformance, action plans, Kappa, all that. RMAs, requirements management, supplier collab, and supplier management. So it's interesting how they break it out, right? Of management, like who are the suppliers? This audits workspace, I'm almost positive what it's related to is typically there's a cadence of like going through and auditing the suppliers. Are they meeting certain metrics? And based off that, you would give each supplier a grade, and that would determine, something for procurement to make a decision on whether or not to continue that relationship with the supplier. But then the supplier collaboration workspace, more focused on the actual interactions that you're having with suppliers. And I'm almost guessing, this is just a guess that the reason that they broke it out into a different workspace was to ensure that no wires would get crossed in terms of permissions. Because you likely, number one, you probably don't want to reveal your supplier list to other suppliers, to their competitors and whatnot. You don't want to see what your audit process or what grades that they have. And that's probably that in my mind. Now, you could say, wait a second, what about these proposals? Like if they have access to this workspace, is it something that they would have access to? Likely there's some safety checks there, permissions wise, but yeah, I don't know. That was just a guess. Doesn't mean I'm right, but possibly why they broke it out that way. Awesome. All right, I think we're set up for there. And the next thing that I would want to explore is going to be setting up some of these numbering schemes, classifications. In fact, I'm not sure if the manage extension has classification. I'd have to double check. Yeah, this thing is just so extensive. That's what makes it so cool, in my mind.